Imagine working hard your whole life, finally reaching retirement, and then watching your old age security vanish just because you didn't plan properly and your income was too high. Painful, right? Well, today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about OAS clawback and how to avoid it. It's your favourite Scotsman here again, and let's get stuck in. What exactly is this whole OAS thing? Well, assuming you've lived in Canada for the required 40 years over the age of 18, you will be eligible for full OAS starting at age 65. For October to December 2024, this is just over $727 monthly if you're aged 65 to 74, and $800 if you're aged 75 and older. You can elect to delay your OAS up to age 70 for an increased benefit of 0.6% per month, or a total of 36% if you go the full way to age 70. Okay, so now that's covered, what exactly is the old age security clawback? It's officially known as the OAS Recovery Tax, and it kicks in when your net income goes over a certain threshold set by the government. It adjusts each year. For 2024, the clawback starts once your net income surpasses $90,997, and once your net income exceeds just over 148 grand if you're aged 65 to 74, and just over 154 grand if you're aged 75 and older, you get nothing. Zero, nada, zilch. For every dollar over that threshold, you lose 15 cents of your OAS benefit, effectively adding up to an extra 15% tax on your income. Here's an example. If your income was $100,000, that's $9,003 above the clawback limit. So 15% of $9,003 means you repay $1,350.45, reducing your OAS payments by a little over $112 a month. Not exactly ideal, is it? Right, well, cut to the chase, Scotsman. How can I avoid this clawback? The first option is straightforward. If you're still employed at age 65 and anticipate being placed in a clawback position, you should inform Service Canada of your desire to postpone your old age security. Whether you want it or not, Service Canada will automatically send you your OAS at age 65. If you want to delay, you must let them know. Let's look at a hypothetical scenario here. We've got David. He's just turning 65 and he's earning $130,000 a year. David began his retirement planning late and intends to continue working until he reaches age 70. If David does not elect to delay his OAS, he's going to give up over $28,000 in OAS payments that will be clawed back. Not only that, electing to delay his OAS will see him increase his indexed after-tax annual retirement income by just under $1,700. Over a 30-year retirement, that's over $50,000. It's a straightforward encounter, yet I've witnessed it more often than I ought to. Alright, let's move on to our next strategy, which involves using the RRSP meltdown to prevent OAS clawback. Meet Joe Black. Joe, another fictional person, has had a successful career as an IT consultant and has decided to pack it all in for a life of leisure next year when he turns 60. Joe's total investment assets are close to 1.4 million, of which over $1 million is in an RRSP. He has targeted a retirement income goal of just over $80,000 and will receive $30,000 in an index company pension, and has elected to receive CPP and OAS at age 65. Joe doesn't have any kids, so maximising what he ultimately passes on, it's not a huge goal of his, so he doesn't think the RRSP meltdown strategy is for him. He figures he will just leave the funds in the RRSP to grow until he needs them. Wrong choice, Joe. Wrong choice. Joe has gone into retirement without an income and tax strategy, and it shows. If you look at the chart, you can see that once Joe starts to ramp up his RRSP withdrawals at age 66, he will be in the OAS clawback range for the remainder of his retirement. What Joe should do instead is draw down his RRSP between the ages of 60 and 64, pays a wee bit more tax up front, but crucially, largely avoids OAS clawback once it kicks in at age 65, and ends up with an increased after-tax annual income for life to go with it. Find yourself in a similar situation to Joe and not sure where to start with your retirement income planning? Click on the link in the pinned comments to book your retirement strategy call with me today. Alright, moving on. And next we're going to look at why having a TFSA in retirement is paramount for avoiding OAS clawback. Let's meet Mary. She lives modestly in Toronto and needs about $50,000 annually, which she covers through CPP, OAS and her $700,000 investment portfolio. Disaster happens though, and a winter storm, you remember those? Anyway, means Mary needs $50,000 of repairs. In the first scenario, we assume that all of Mary's $700,000 is in a RRIF. Withdrawing $50,000 creates a significant taxable event. Her taxable income typically hovers around $58,000, but the additional withdrawal in 2025 causes it to increase to $138,000, leaving her with just $613 in OAS income for that year. So not only has Mary been hammered in tax, she's also lost out on over $8,000 in OAS income for the year. I'm sure you would agree this is at best suboptimal. In a different world though, if Mary has $600,000 in a RRIF and $100,000 in a tax-free savings account, she can withdraw the funds from her tax-free savings account instead and avoid the dreaded OAS clawback. If you've listened to me before, you will know I regularly talk about the importance of having a TFSA in retirement. RRSPs are great tools for saving for retirement, but you have to think of what happens when you need access to cash quickly. Okay, let's move on to our next example for today. This one is for couples who consider their finances separate. What's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. Not uncommon in today's world and perfectly okay if that's how you like to do things. What is not okay though is doing the same thing when it comes to filing your taxes. Just to be clear, if you're in a common law relationship and you file as a single taxpayer to your advantage, you are essentially committing fraud. It doesn't take a financial planner to tell you that defrauding the government is a terrible idea. Putting that aside, however, when it comes to OAS clawback, I've seen this situation on several occasions. Couples who consider their finances separate not using the tax code to their advantage. Let's look at Andrew and Melissa. And again, I'm sure you know that I've changed the names here, but for the sake of making my point, I've changed the names. Andrew is retiring next year from his position in government with an annual pension of $72,000 a year. Melissa is a sales professional and is also retiring next year and has a little under $700,000 saved in RRSP. Andrew and Melissa got together later in life and both have kids from previous relationships. To keep things simple, they've always elected to keep their finances separate. When it comes to tax filing though, they're making a huge mistake. By not taking advantage of income splitting, Andrew is subject to OAS clawback all the way up to age 95. If they were to file taxes together and make use of income splitting, not only would they not be clawed back, but it would actually increase the annual after-tax income available to them in retirement by a little under $4,000. Over a 30-year retirement, that's 120 grand. If you're willing to sniff at 120 grand, then you should probably find better things to do with your time than watching a Scotsman on YouTube, as money is clearly not an issue for you. Alright, still with me? Good, because we aren't done yet. I'm gonna leave you with some final tips. First off, make sure your investments are in the right accounts to keep your taxable income lower. Not every dollar is taxed equally. Different types of income, like dividends, capital gains, and interest, are taxed differently. Since interest is fully taxed, keeping interest-bearing investments inside registered accounts like RRSPs or TFSAs can help keep your overall income down and potentially under the OAS threshold. If you have capital assets like a cottage or rental property, be mindful of when you sell them. Selling these assets triggers capital gains, which at least half of which is added to your taxable income, potentially pushing you into clawback territory. Ideally, if you need to sell, do so before OAS kicks in to avoid any impact on your benefits. Another useful strategy: if you're over the age of 71 but have a spouse that's under 71 with RRSP room, consider a spousal RRSP. This allows you to get a tax deduction now while keeping more income tax sheltered. Lastly, if you're drawn from a RRIF, use your younger spouse's age to calculate minimum withdrawals. This lowers the mandatory amount you need to withdraw each year, which can help keep your net income under control for OAS purposes. Which ties us nicely into the final point today. But if you're worried about how OAS clawback will impact your retirement, click on the link in the pinned comments to book your retirement strategy call with me today. Everyone's situation is different, of course, but a financial advisor can take the time to understand your circumstances to identify the strategies that make sense for you. As fun as hypotheticals can be, they'll never match up to the real thing when it comes to retirement. And on the subject of retirement, if you're wondering how to optimise your RRSP and TFSA contributions, you're going to love this next video I have lined up for you.